I'm Brandon Smith, and I'm the workplace therapist. My entire purpose and passion in life is one singular thing, and that's to help you live a life free from dysfunction. And let's be honest, folks, dysfunction is everywhere. Our bosses, our coworkers, our neighbors, even that grumpy barista that pours your coffee. And sometimes, that dysfunction stares back at us in the face when we're getting ready in the mornings and we see ourselves in the mirror. Well, at the end of the day, life and work should not have to suck. The purpose of this show is to help you overcome those roadblocks in your life to help you realize the life you've always wanted. This is the Brandon Smith Show. I am your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life more free from dysfunction. So for today's show, I am thrilled to have our guest, Eric Holtzclaw, joining us today. And we're going to be talking about that particularly transitional point that can be ripe for dysfunction when a startup business or an entrepreneurial business goes from being a startup to being professionally run.
Yes.
And how do you make that challenge and that pivot? But before we do that, I think I got to introduce Eric. So Eric, you wear lots of hats. Not only are you kind of a fixer of broken businesses, but you also are the founder of Laddering Works.
Yes.
And a podcaster extraordinaire.
That's right.
So lots of amazing things. And you've written articles for Inc.
Yes. All right. For Inc. and CMO.
Yep. CMO, written a book.
Yeah.
I mean, you are an expert in this space. So
yeah.
I am thrilled to pick your brain a little bit more about this. But before we go too much further down to our topic, walk us back a little bit. Tell us a little bit how you got doing this. How did you get working with startup businesses and helping them make this transition? Because this is messy work.
Yeah, so it's going to go way back. So at the age of 5, I either wanted to be president of the United States or work for IBM.
Okay.
Those were sort of my two goals. And
you are wearing, for those of you who can't see the show, Eric is wearing a blue shirt.
That's right. I did. I wear the classic blue shirt that's all over my website. So anyway, I started at IBM and decided I really didn't like big companies. I just wasn't a fit for me. I didn't want to do the 9 to 5. I wanted something different. And I ended up in a startup that had been started by a bunch of ex-IBMers. And so for the early part of my career, I worked for crazy CEOs. Dysfunctional, crazy CEOs. Love all of you, but you were crazy and dysfunctional. And we built companies, and they would go out and raise money. So these guys they knew how to raise money, they knew how to get VC capital, but they didn't know how to build the business. So I was their kind of first hire, second in command, and I would put the staff behind that company. So I would take the money we had received and actually make sure we did with it what we had told the VCs we were going to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I learned a lot. I was really more on the technology and product side then. It's when product was hard, technology was hard. I call myself a recovering technologist. And then around the turn of the century, I was hired by some Silicon Valley companies to build professional services organizations for them around their products. So I built more of a sales and service organization around a product that they were taking to market, but maybe customers didn't understand. So for example, I worked for a company called CyberSource, and we did payment. So for big, huge companies, and that was back when e-commerce was new. They didn't know how to do that kind of thing, and we would build a team that came in, taught them how to do the work, like how to make payment work, and then we would move on. So 2001 occurred, and you and I are both old enough to, and I had always wanted to start a company in the research space because I love talking with people, understanding why they like or don't like products, and I had seen that be very effective to teaching some of my prior dysfunctional teams how to fix a product, like take it to the person who's going to use it and see if they can or not. And so for a period of about 10 years, I ran a research company. We serviced primarily Fortune 500 and Global 2000 companies, and we showed them how the products and services weren't working by taking them out to the intended customer. The problem with that company is I never saw if they did what I told them to do. So we would tell them, this product is broken and this is why. And so that leads me up to where I am today. So I combined what I did in the early part of my career with these kind of crazy CEOs and what I learned working with these Fortune 500 and Global 2000s, and I pivot to these companies that are what we call, they're profitable but not progressing. So they've hit an inflection point. The entrepreneur is still there. The owner or the founder is still there, but they have to be there every day, and they don't know how to move away from being entrepreneurially run to professionally managed. So entrepreneurially run meaning that if you can't go to the beach, if you can't step away from your business for any period of time, then you have a problem. You need to figure out how to get other people in place to actually really run that business.
Yeah.
Or maybe your business is stalled. I work with companies that have been around for 30 years, but they've hit one revenue target and they can't get above it, and they don't know why. So it's a kind of coming in with an outsider's perspective, and all those experiences from working with kind of the crazy dysfunctional CEOs back in the early part of my career,
Yeah.
and the crazy dysfunctional larger companies allow me to quickly ascertain what needs to be
That's perfect
done.
background for what you do, because
Yeah.
you have that COO operator kind of role,
Right.
and then you went into more of a consulting advisory role.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then
now
more
you
of a
just-
marketing. It's more of a marketing.
Yeah, and more
sales role.
marketing too. And then now you just said, "Oh, well, I'm going to put both those together."
Yeah,
Make
and
your,
I took
make
my
your Reese's peanut butter cup. with
That's
that.
right. And I took my company in 2002 to 2012. We went from 0 to about $5 million in revenue. We're on the Inc. 5000 3 years in a row. So I've taken companies from entrepreneurially run to professionally managed. I understand the pain, and I'm a control freak at heart, right? Introvert, control freak, all those kind of things. Read the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber over
Yeah.
spring break, came back and told the whole company, we're going to change everything we're doing. And they were like, oh no, he's read a book, right? And we really
Read
did.
the book.
We really did. We really affected that open book management and things like that. And so I use those and teach those things to other entrepreneurs.
Okay, so I'm really ready to dive into this topic. So tell us about, and you can take it any angle you like, because I just find this so fascinating. Are there particular inflection points or roadblocks that you see that are cause those entrepreneurs prevent them from letting go, or are there certain things that you see that they need to do, or both?
I would say it's a little of both. So there's sweet spots. So $1 million is a sweet spot. About 3 to 3.5 million is a sweet spot. 5 million is a sweet spot. And the reason they are is that you're making just enough money that you feel like if I start to spend it on someone else, then I'm going to have to give up something. So I've got $1 million. I finally made that point, and I can go to dinner now. So do I still keep going to dinner, or do I hire someone? You have to make those choices. 3 to 3.5 is a huge one. 3 to 3.5, that company's got about $500,000 of cash that they either just sit on from now on, or they decide to invest back in. And that is a key decision between becoming a lifestyle business and becoming one that you may sell at the end of the day. So you have to decide.
So for our listeners, talk a little about the difference between a lifestyle versus something you're going to sell.
Neither one is bad, but if you're in a partnership, you need to make sure that you and the partner agree on what you're building.
Oh, yeah.
So lifestyle
You're scratching the surface on potential dysfunction when we talk about partnerships.
Absolutely. When I talk about, with a partner, you may both say we're both going to go, you and I both want to go skiing. I eventually think of water skiing. You may think of snow skiing. So we show up at the car with completely different equipment, and we get in the car and we're like, we're headed to the beach, right? No, we're going to the mountains. I thought we were going skiing, right? We haven't had a deep enough conversation what that means. So lifestyle businesses are fine. They're typically what happens is people build lifestyle businesses in areas that they shouldn't be building a lifestyle business. So these things that you see, like some of the stuff being built out of the incubators, those sometimes become lifestyle businesses, and it's too hard a lifestyle business. A real good lifestyle business would be being an insurance broker, or
I was thinking
a
insurance
franchise,
broker. Yeah.
or something like that. Don't go try to build a product or technology or service-based business that's going to be a lifestyle business, because you just never really get to a good point that you can have the lifestyle you want, meaning you're making enough money that you cover your costs and you can go to the golf course every day. Right? Like that's what you want to do. If you want to build something that you're going to sell at the end of the day, so you can then either reinvest it, or something I won't say on your show, but I tell people they have to have a number that's a number that says they can tell everybody to go away and know what that number is.
Yep.
And that's growing a business and saying, I'm going to sell something. So you have to know that. Neither one is good, bad, or good. They're fine. There's multiple different types of businesses, but you need to know when you're building the business, what am I building? Why am I building it this way? What do I want to do with it at the end of the day? Because businesses are temporal. They're not long-term.
Yeah.
So you know that you're going to get rid of it at some point.
Yeah. I read somewhere recently, they talked about the typical life of a company that's on the Fortune 500 list is going to be 17 years now.
Absolutely.
It's getting smaller and shorter and shorter.
Smaller. Yeah. And the ones that are on Fortune 500 today won't be there by 2020. A lot of them, you just see them dropping off because business models change. It's not like people equate building a business like to a marriage, which is supposed to be for the long term. And businesses are not like that. You need the prenup going in.
So what are the 3 to 5 tips you might give to one of those business owners that is seeking to change their business? They want to grow, but for whatever reason, they can't let go.
So there's some things I'm always asked, what are the things that business owners, and I'm going to give you 3 tips and a bonus.
Oh, we got bonus.
A bonus.
So good. I love bonus.
Okay. So one is the concept of patience. Most small business owners, entrepreneurs are just not patient enough. They're not patient enough to see if a process is going to work, if a person can step up and take something over. They've got to get back in and, take back control.
Yeah.
They don't wait the length of time to see that things are really going to work out for the best. I have an assistant, Debbie, who's worked for me for years, and we kid about how the calendar always works itself out. And if we just wait, like, you're not waiting to the point of being indecisive, but patience is something that people do not wait long enough. It takes a long time. We're an instant gratification society, and we want things to happen, all of a sudden.
How do you make that more concrete for them? Do you say, listen, you got to give it 6 months, trust me? Or is that
wow, you must have read something. So any new marketing tactic or business process typically needs 6 to 9 months to see if it's really going to work. Now, that's not true of putting a new employee into a position. That's why I'm a big believer in, reviewing or talking about things more often, because what we do is these annual, hey, let's go to lunch and complain about everything you did in the last 2 weeks and pretend like it happened over the last 12, right? That kind of consistent and immediate feedback. So, but a new business process, a new pivot, 6 to 9 months.
So for business processes and pivot, 6 to 9 months. For a new hire,
90 days.
Okay, we're looking more like 90 days.
Like gut. Like, I wish people would just take advantage and so many of these companies I walk into, one of the first problems I'm resolving for them is an HR problem. They've brought me in to help them build their company, but then in the first conversation, oh, Jim over in the corner, we don't really think well, how long has Jim been here? 3 years. Well, awesome. Like, why don't we have taken care of that sooner, right? We just hate to deal with what's there.
So it's interesting. You scratch an interesting topic when we talk about patience, because I totally get what you're saying, but I've also seen it on the other side where they're too patient with people, not patient enough with systems and processes.
See, but I don't think
and too patient with people. People have been there a long time, and then
I don't think it's patience. I think it's lack of ability to deal with healthy conflict and avoidance. There's a difference between patience and avoidance.
Yeah.
So I can be patient with you because I know you're getting something and you're going to get there, and I don't need to step in, and you may do it differently than I do, but that's okay. But I shouldn't avoid it if you're just not doing your job, right? And that's where you have to, you're being patient. You're avoiding it. You don't want to have the conflict. That's why I don't do well in big companies. I work in middle market.
You don't love the politics of big companies?
I'm terrible at it. I just call it like it is. I just walk in and then tear down, kick over chairs and stuff, and people are like, "Who's he?" So, but it's actually why Fortune 500s and Global 2000s love me, because I'll come in and say, "That's a terrible idea." I don't have any idea why you're doing that. So anyway,
you tell the emperor they have no clothes.
I do. That's why I will never be a Fortune 500 CEO. It's not going to happen. Probably, maybe not a good president either, because I would be a little.
That ship might have sailed.
Might have shipped. Yeah, I might have been on Twitter a little bit. So.
Well, according to the new world of today, you can do that.
You can do that, I guess. Yeah, somebody should take that away. But anyway, right.
No doubt. So we've got patience. That's our number 1.
That's number 1.
Okay, we got 2 more plus a bonus. And I'm excited to hear what they are after our break. So let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we'll build on patience. We'll hear about the next 2 and a bonus. And then I get to ask you for your life hack on how we can.
That's a lot we got to do.
There's a lot we're going to do.
All right, good.
Wow, but I'm confident we can get it done.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. So stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
job, plus the right culture, plus the right boss equals workplace happiness. The number one reason people leave jobs is problems with their boss. A horrible boss can make us dread every Monday, but an amazing boss can make us so excited to work that we'd go in on weekends. Finding your perfect boss is not only possible, it's one of the most impactful steps you can take in crafting your perfect career. Visit theworkplacetherapist.com and click on guides to learn how to find and get your perfect boss, whether that means making the decision to move on or turning your current boss into the perfect leader you want them to be. Our bosses have so much influence over our work and our whole day. Working for the right boss alone can be a winning career strategy.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Brandon Smith Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Smith. Today on our show, if you have just joining us, we've got Eric Holtzclaw joining us, and we're talking about that transition point from being a smaller entrepreneurial company into more professionally run, professionally managed company. And we were hinting that there are a couple more points we're going to cover, but we've already hit one, patience.
Yes.
You illustrated patience very clearly for us, that one of the challenges for these entrepreneurial companies and these founders and owners is being patient with new systems and structures.
Yeah.
And giving it at least 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
But not necessarily 6 to 9 months for new employees.
Right.
Make it more like 90 days.
Yeah, it's the difference between being patient and letting something work through versus being avoidant.
Yeah.
And many times these companies, they are. I mean, we hate change, we hate conflict, we avoid it. And if you could just get it out there, things move along so much easier. You know?
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got patience as our first one. What's our second one?
Second one is consistency.
Ooh, say more about that.
So being consistent. And I've watched some of your stuff, and I know that we may disagree on this one a little bit. But one of the first things I put in place are consistent sets of meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't have a problem with that. I'm with you. Now
I think you're anti-meeting.
I have an opinion on how meetings should be run.
Okay, well, my meetings can be as short as 15 minutes to as long as an hour. Depends on what we're structuring, what we're covering.
Believe it or not, we're singing off the same song sheet.
Okay, so when I'm
all
walking
about
into
meetings, but they got to be run right.
Yeah, I walk into these entrepreneurial-run companies, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to be like a big company, so we're not having meetings. I mean, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. It's a waste of time." And in big companies, it can be a waste of time. I'm in them for some of my clients where I'm showing them how to talk to Fortune 500 or Global 2000s, and we go to a meeting that's supposed to be an hour, and we get done in 15 minutes, and someone figures out how to drag it out for an hour. And I do want to kill that person, but
you don't though, right?
No,
I just want to make
sure
sure
sitting
that
here, right?
we're not going to get the police breaking down.
I'm still sitting here.
door.
So the problem is though that you do have to have regular checkpoints. You have to be consistent with what you say and do. So you can't just be the owner and tell people to do things and then not also do it yourself. So if you're not walking the walk, the people around you are not.
Sounds a lot like parenting.
Walk. It is. It's absolutely like parenting. So you have to be consistent. You have to, and consistent. Raising children is about being consistent. Yeah. Consistent bedtime. It gives them stability. All that wonderful stuff. And your employees want railing. They want boundaries. You may not. Like the owner doesn't. They're like, I don't want all that. Your employees need it. They need to know what are the rules, what are the boundaries. They work better with those in place.
Amen, brother.
Right, but you got to be consistent with them.
You'll love this piece of research came out last year on the worst kind of boss to work for.
Yeah,
and I would have expected it to be the narcissistic, yelling and screaming kind of. That wasn't the number one.
Yeah,
inconsistent boss.
Absolutely,
the one who is very manic. But unmedicated. So come in one day and it's a birthday party for everybody. The next day someone's getting fired.
Right.
Like that was the worst kind of boss to work for.
Yeah. So consistency, consistency works across the organization. Consistency in your message, consistency in how you deal with your employees. But to move from entrepreneurially run to professionally managed, it has to be consistent. Because if it's not consistent, I don't know how to work within the confines, and I don't know how to teach someone else what that consistency is.
You bring medication with you sometimes?
Wish I did.
Because I can see that being a challenge. All right, so we've got patience.
It's a huge challenge in getting them to be accountable. Like if you don't show up, I had a business partner, and we had a weekly meeting. My teams ran really well. His didn't, because sometimes he decided he wouldn't come to the meeting because he was one of the partners. I'm like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, totally.
That doesn't work. You've got to be first there.
Okay, so we've got patience, we've got consistency. What's our number 3?
Focus.
Focus.
Yeah, and visionaries, Isaac, are not very good at focus. So they love to come up with a zillion ideas. That's why having a second, someone who works for them that helps them to filter those things and decide what goes to the staff. Because if you're just taking people a million different directions, thinking about what focus means for your organization. And when I say focus, entrepreneurs often think limit. You're like, oh my gosh, that means you're going to tell me to limit what I do. No, determine what your real focus is. So a good example is Zappos. So Zappos does not sell shoes. They deliver happiness.
Oh, that's true. It does say that on the box.
Their focus is to deliver happiness. So that allows everyone in the organization to understand the focus of the organization. It's not about shoes, because then they try to get the most money, all that kind of stuff. They're about delivering happiness. They've picked that as their focus. So entrepreneurs often will say, we sell, water bottles. Probably not. You sell better hydration, which could fall into lots of different categories. So that's your focus.
Sounds almost like having a purpose, too, in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I run into with entrepreneurs and using the word focus over purpose is purpose feels like something big companies do or think about, and you sometimes have problems getting them to adopt that thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you can say, well, the focus you have is too broad, like you're doing too many things, or your focus is too narrow, and we need to define really what is your focus for your organization. In my research company, we originally started off, and I had heard the word focus, and we focused on trying to sell like 3 services. But what we realized is that our focus was, if the project or the research included users, then it was a good project for us to take on. So that allowed us to do quant surveys, qualitative work, ethnography, those kind of things, because as long as we were getting genuine first-person user feedback, then our focus was right.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got patience, consistency, and focus.
Yes.
You said there's a bonus.
There's a bonus. Those are the 3 I start with.
Is this going to be like dessert?
No, it's not really dessert. I don't know that it's dessert, because it's the one that I hold back on for companies, because I can start down that path and it's very tactical. We can do some tactical things. And you'll like this one, but the 4th one is awareness.
Awareness. That feels like dessert to me. Go.
Yeah,
Talk more about this.
So awareness, I have the entrepreneurial quiz on my website that puts entrepreneurs into 3 categories. So you're either a visionary, an implementer, or an operator. So knowing where you fall into those categories helps you to start talking to each other in a better way. Visionaries and operators have a real problem talking, because operators want detail and structure, and visionaries are off making a million ideas and not following any of the rules, and often the time the poor implementers in between everybody, right? And they're trying to make things work. So knowing which one of those you are is a big deal. Before I ran into this, I had a designer who worked for me. I tell this story all the time, and he was an operator, and I'm more of a implementer with visionary tendencies. And he and I would have conversations, and I would just say, because I do this, I'm like, you and I don't really talk to each other well. It's like we talk to each other sideways. I don't know why. I like you, you do a good job, but it's very awkward. Like we just have awkward conversations, and I'm not sure what it is. Well, I found out he was a deep operator, meaning he needed to read and research things, and I work more on gut instinct, and so we didn't, I'm more visual, auditory. He wanted to read it and think about it, and I was trying to get him to react to things quickly. So once I knew that about him, we could have a candid conversation and not just think we didn't like each other,
So is that awareness about awareness and acceptance, or awareness and change?
Oh, absolutely. No, people don't change.
Okay, so
no change.
Awareness and acceptance, which might mean
don't marry the guy you think you're going to change. Don't hire the employee that you think you're going to change.
But the implication might mean you're not the right person to run this business going forward, given how you're wired.
Yes.
It needs to scale without you.
Yeah, so we ultimately get to that. So either from an awareness perspective, you understand maybe you're an implementer and you need a visionary because to get your business to the next level. So if you're stalled, let's say you have made a certain revenue target and you can't get it above it, you probably need to bring a visionary in. If you're a visionary, you're probably selling more than your team can support, and now you need to have an implementer. So you start to think about, or you may need more operators. So you start to determine where you might be missing people
Yeah.
and where they need to go. And you need to be okay with the fact that you may be, my railing is $1 million to $20 million companies. That's my favorite. Below 1 million, I've done them, and I don't want to do them again. I'm just not interested in being employee number one. And
Are they just not ready for you?
well, more of it's my choice, right? I've done the start from scratch, like the $0 in the garage, me and somebody. I want it to have something going. Like I want it to be going before I come in. And then when they get above 20, they've got over 40 to 50 employees, and then I'm not necessarily working directly with the founder or owner. I need to be a place where I can make some dramatic change.
Yeah.
And the politics start to get introduced, and I'm not good at politics. I'm just not the guy to come in and clean up your politics.
I kind of want to put you in a political situation just to see what would happen.
I have to get in them. But the fun thing is I'm often brought into the political situation to be the non-political person.
Yeah.
So I do
That's
Fortune 500, Global 2000 boardrooms, and I'm the guy who can say the thing in the room that nobody else can.
As long as they give you permission to do that, that works great.
They don't always give me permission, but I'm going to say it.
That's
Like,
good.
That's the stupidest marketing campaign I've ever heard of.
Eat their broccoli.
Absolutely.
Time to eat the broccoli,
Yeah.
everybody.
So, and in awareness too, there's rectify and magnify rectify and magnify entrepreneurs, and we won't have time to discuss that today, but that's a really important point. 80% of entrepreneurs are rectifies and 20% are magnifies.
Okay.
You have to bring me back.
That you're going to have to. Now you set up a tease. All right. So we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
And as I do with all of my guests, I ask for a life hack. So what is one life hack you can offer us to help us make our lives a little less dysfunctional? And this can be personal or professional.
So biggest for more functional, but the biggest life hack for me, the thing that works well when I'm stuck is just changing my environment. So if I'm trying, because I have to write often, or I need time to kind of get away and get some stuff done, and I find that there are places that I'm more functional and in other places I'm not. And what I'll see people do is they'll just try to continue to drive through it. Oh, I need to write this. So then they sit at their desk and continue to try to write it. And it would have taken them 30 minutes if they'd gotten up and gone to a coffee shop or gone outside. So just changing your perspective changes your perspective.
I love that tip. Do you do that in just more of a regular rhythm? Like it's time to change it up, or do you do that when you hit a roadblock?
Typically, yeah, I'm not going to try to drive through a roadblock. Like I write a weekly newsletter and I know that I've done it correctly if it only takes me 30 minutes to an hour. If it takes me 4 or 5 hours, which it has before, then I'm trying to force it, and I should have just stepped away from it, gone somewhere else, done something else. It's amazing. Like even driving the car, you'll get a completely different perspective on something. So, that it sounds crazy to say, just stop doing it, right? You're working on something, stop doing it, because you'll do it faster. It'll be better if you just put it away for a little while.
I love it. I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. And I don't know if you read the book Originals, Adam Grant's recent book, and he talked about one of the things that they found when they did research around procrastination is it actually makes you more creative.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this idea, just step away. While you're losing time, it's actually going to make you better.
Well, some of my best performing articles were written very quickly under sort of this crazy deadline. Like one I wrote about using the word actually. My best performing article, I wrote it on a Sunday afternoon in 30 minutes because I was under deadline. I didn't even like the article. I posted it. I almost took it down before it got published. And then it has been one of my best performing articles on my column.
Okay, so my takeaways, I'm going to procrastinate to the last minute.
You see, and I hate that.
And everything I'm going to do.
I'm not one of those. I like why. There's two different types of people. People who say, why do today what you could put off till tomorrow, and why not do today what you could do. I'm one of those. I like to get it done and be ahead. So I have to really work at just step away. If it's not working, just step away.
So my other final takeaway from this is we're going to have you back.
Okay.
So Eric, this was awesome. So you've given us some great tips to help us make that shift from entrepreneurial to more professionally managed, but I think it even applies in other aspects of our life. So we need to be patient with those systems and structures we put in place. We need to make sure that we're being consistent. Mm-hmm. We've got a certain level of focus. And then as our bonus, awareness. We recognize and accept who we are.
And sort of as a little therapist, you'd think awareness would come first, but you never can get there.
Yeah.
You have to do something tactical and then get to awareness.
I totally get that. And because I think that the awareness will pop up when they start resisting the tactical.
Yes.
So you can be like, oh, look at that. Interesting. You're not able to do it. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah.
Who told you that you
I
couldn't
love
do
it.
that?
And then your
Yes.
life hack of having us take a step back, change our environment, change our context
Yeah.
to look at things differently. I love it. So if people want to learn more about you and follow you, where can they go?
I'm everywhere. So you can go to ericholtzclaw.com, which is all of my kind of thought leadership and educational content. And it's also on my website. I'm Eric V. Holtzclaw. And I'm sorry, Facebook page, Eric V. Holtzclaw. My company is Laddering Works, and we're a consulting organization. So we walk into companies and help them become patient, to have focus, to be
Nice.
consistent, and grow them from entrepreneurially run to professionally managed. I've had one of my clients say we're like Mary Poppins. So we show up, we make them take their medicine.
Do you have an umbrella?
I do.
Do you say super
Typically I wear funky
califragilistic
socks. It's that's
Yeah.
the thing. And then
I've
we're
heard
only
about those socks.
only with like 12 to 18 months, and then we teach them. So we're training. We're not just coaching. We're training them how to do the work. I have staff that helps them understand how to get there, and then we feel like they're kind of on their own. Then we're off to the next deal.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you again. And
Thanks for
thank
inviting
you.
me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to have you back. And thank you for listening. So join our fight against dysfunction every week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern when there's a new episode of The Brandon Smith Show. And you can follow us on Twitter at the WP Therapist or Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for Workplace Therapist. And if you want to learn more about me and other resources for you, you can go to theworkplacetherapist.com. And until next week in our next episode, have an awesome week and an awesome life. I'm Brandon Smith, and I'm the Workplace Therapist. My entire purpose and passion in life is one singular thing, and that's to help you live a life free from dysfunction. And let's be honest, folks, dysfunction is everywhere. Our bosses, our coworkers, our neighbors, even that grumpy barista that pours your coffee. And sometimes, that dysfunction stares back at us in the face when we're getting ready in the mornings and we see ourselves in the mirror. Well, at the end of the day, life and work should not have to suck. The purpose of this show is to help you overcome those roadblocks in your life to help you realize the life you've always wanted.